He doesn't want to listen to reason.
What's good, people? What an episode. Euphoria season 3, episode 3 came out and it blew my mind. It was dark, it was raw, it was emotional, it was everything that you'd want in a Euphoria episode, you know. And we first have to start off with Nate. Nate and Cassie, what on earth is going on? Finally, we can almost say, unfortunately, Nate's fate caught up with him. He tried to hide a lot, sweep a lot under the rug, and it exploded on that day. And go through all that, we'll have to first start off from the beginning of where we've even got to. You know, the whole episode was based on the wedding that we've been waiting and preparing for, Cassie and Nate. You know, episode 1 and 2 was really preparing for this wedding and trying to find a way to really, for Cassie, meet her expectations. You know, she wanted 100K flowers, 50K flowers, should I say? You might as well be 100K flowers. And Nate, at a particular time, you know, he's sick at this point, thinking, how on earth can I afford all this while I'm going through business issues, especially with Nas? We found out he's owing Nas like almost like five to 600K. And at first, we're not too sure where this may lead him. Is it going to be a serious situation? Is Nas going to go all out for this? We don't know. So in the beginning, you know, when the wedding day comes up, you know, the preparation starts. Everyone's getting ready. You know, we're seeing Rue link up with her, her number one, which is Jules. That's a +1 for the wedding. And Jules is a bit, you know, unsure. And I think this is very significant because this is a big reunion from high school, you know. Being that high school was a big thing for you before, this is how everyone is coming back together and trying to link up post, you know, post everything going on. And it's very significant because a lot of people in high school, you know, when everyone's together, we know each other. We see what people go through. We see the drama. And as soon as high school finishes, a lot of people are gone their ways doing whatever they're doing. Some people are in prison. Some people are millionaires. You know, so it's this whole theme of the episode was interesting to see how a lot of these people that were all in the same class together do their separate lives. Jules out here probably selling a body, monetizing off that. Cass out here trying to do a OnlyFans to be able to fund this wedding. We got Nate that's getting funded by someone who's an absolute mafia. You know, we're having, of course, Rue, who's found herself in a whole different setup. So it's very interesting how this whole episode panned out. So the wedding starts, and you see Cassie with her mother. Her mom really trying to tell Cassie, like, look, like this was the last happiest day I had with my husband, and I don't think that made Cassie feel good at all. Cassie did not feel happy at all hearing that. I think she actually felt as though she was about to vomit or throw up. Like she started thinking of her own situation about how much of a fiction it already was. You know, she was already thinking to herself like, can she trust Nate? Um, does Nate really love her? Does she love Nate? To what degree do they really love each other? And what was all this for? Was all this to celebrate love with between Cassie and Nate, or was all this for something completely different? Was this all for the case of just showing a grand wedding? And especially for Cassie, where it almost feels as though it's for the brand, how she looks. She wants people to love her. She wants people to like her. She wants people to admire her. She wants people to know that she's the number one, you know. So I think a lot of this was really a clash between the two, between figuring out, you know, what is it that Cassie was really going for? What was she pushing for real? You know. So given the fact that now the wedding kicks off, you know, everyone's there, your Maddies, your Jules, you know. So as the wedding comes in, then we have Nas. Everything seemed to be okay. The speeches were going on. We had Nate's dad out here giving a speech. We thinking he gonna make himself look crazy. He's out here saying, you know, I know y'all know me for my infamous stuff, but look, bro, it's a different world now. I'm different, bro. He was trying to say he different, you know. So all that was going on, and then Nas comes and just this is at the point where everything's at all time high. I'm even happy. I'm emotional for Nate and Cassie, and then we see we see Nas come up and say, "Oh, you owe me." And what's crazy is that what makes situations like these worse is when you have your bridesmaid that's supposed to calm down the situation for the bride. They're like, "Oh my gosh, what's going on?" You can see they were even egging it on Cassie and making it bad on Cassie, saying, "Oh, are you okay?" Cassie's main aim, and I guess the bride's main aim, is to have a magical day for their wedding day. The wedding day is majority of the time that we know a wedding's majority. The majority theme is for the bride to be happy, and they kept on, you know, they themselves asking, "Are you okay?" And I feel as though Cassie at this particular time did not recognize Nate. When bro came in with a, "Oh, you owe me money," she was just scared, and you'd think she was scared for Nate, but I think she was more scared of how she looked, how people think she looked. She just thought, "Look, everyone's here. We need to make sure this wedding is amazing." That was the number one goal, and I think all that kind of shifted at that particular moment when she was in shock. She seemed like she was in shock, fight or flight, and Nate was trying to calm her down because now Nas has come and now shell shocks both of them. Nate is kind of like, "Oh, this is messy, but come on, bro." Like even I felt bad. Like Nate was really like, "Come on, bro, you gonna do me like this right here?" He could have let it go. He could have done this after, but he chose to do Nate like this there and then. He didn't need to do that. So we saw where that went forward with Nas out here saying, "Look, I'm gonna be your worst nightmare." That's when things really, shifted. Shifted a lot, given the fact that now Nate knows he got a bullseye on his back. Cassie knows, and now they have to pretend to be okay because at the end of the day, like what is known, it's like it's meant for you, but at the same time, half of the time, especially when you have a big wedding, it's almost how everybody sees it. It's how everybody views it. The people see you normal. The people see you happy. That's majority of the time the kind of culture clash with a wedding. And I think they felt it a lot where it's like they didn't know whether they were happy or they didn't want the shame of not being happy. And I think Cassie felt that a lot. Her bridesmaid didn't ask her like, "Are you okay?" And Cassie's like, "Why would you ask me that question? This is meant to be the happiest day of my life." Meanwhile, she looking crazy, eyes red, tears out. So this became a big thing from the get go. Through that whole process now, at one particular point, you see Cassie, she just crashing out. Alcohol ain't helping. Nate's still trying to, his groomsmen, they're all trying to just get together. And I think that's one thing about a wedding. Like a wedding, no matter what, they all try to make sure that they can at least ease the tension, ease the issues. And the interesting thing about this is you see that they sort of amend all that. You know, Nate is kind of trying to tell Cassie, and I think it's one of the dynamics you have in relationships where your man's trying to just assure you that, "Don't worry, I got you. We'll sort this out." And your babes hopefully will understand. And I think that's what he was trying to get off that. And it looked like it was working. It looked like at least they were going to ride off to the sunset. They had done the wedding. Everybody congratulated him. At least, even with a shame, they'd ride off to the sunset. Only for them to get, just when he thought he could at least get a break, get something, get rest. That's when Nas turns up, and that just went south. And it really showed how dark this episode was in Euphoria. You know, Nas was just an absolute menace from the get go with it, and he's just been an absolute menace to Nate. Meanwhile, while Nas is being a menace to him, the collateral damage was, of course, Cassie. And like Nas said to Cassie, like a woman either inherits wealth or inherits debt, and she became collateral damage to what Nate was going through. And you can see she's just bleeding at this point, crying in tears. And the sad thing is that at this point, we couldn't see if Cassie really actually loved Nate because Cassie was just bothered about her wedding and being happy. She actually didn't even really care about Nate. She did not care if he was alive, he feels okay, he feels well. Nas asked her like, look, like, don't ruin your makeup. Don't ruin your makeup. She like, yeah, it's already ruined. And he like, yeah, Nate don't listen. And she kind of agreed in a way, like, yeah, he don't listen. I think that was a bit crazy to say the least, because it's a bit like, what was she, what was it really pointing out? You pointing out that, the wedding is a more of a bigger occasion than Nate's life? Because at this particular point, we don't know what Nas is about to do in Nate. We know what he's about to do. We're just seeing him fall off the stairs. And she's just crying in tears. She ain't looking back. She ain't even trying to help him, aid him, support him. She's just crying. She's just absolutely in tears, crying, seeing what is happening. She's in hysteria, thinking about her day. She ain't thinking about Nate. And I think at that particular time, we saw the dynamics in her relationship and how important it is. I think that was a big point in understanding that people's perceptions have become more important than the actual love. Did these two people love each other? Are these two people riding for each other? And I think that's what the wedding day became. You know, so Nate ends up losing his toe. So you can see that you know life catches up with him. Now on the other side, we see Rue. Rue at the beginning, she enjoying the new hustle with Alamo. She's selling straps. She enjoying it. She's saying as long as these ain't going to America, why not? It kind of justifies what she's doing. At the meantime, I believe she's still trying to follow her faith, trying to see about this faith, which later on we see she's listening to um the Bible. She's using the audio book to listen to the Bible for when the angel of the Lord appears to Moses. So she's going on her own thing at the same time. Now, see what's interesting is, you know, before this, she tells Alamo like, "Look, like, I'm just trying to be legit." And Alamo like, "What do you mean? I'm giving you an opportunity." He almost feels disrespected. Like, I'm giving you an opportunity. So that really becomes very, very interesting. At the same time, we have Laurie who becomes a menace. She brings out a pig because she's trying to get a payback on Alamo. The big thing here is she wants Rue back. She really wants Rue back, and she's not happy that Alamo has Rue. She's not happy with that at all, to be honest. Given the fact that she was used to, she don't want what's hers, and now that Alamo's taking it, they've got their own war going on. First, it becomes silent, but it's just brewing up. So Rue takes Jules off to the wedding, and she finds out that she has to go and do a job. So she ends up having to do this job, and she does this job with Bishop. So she goes with Bishop to Laura to sort out a deal with everything going on, and you can see they have the opportunity now to take off their actual bird Paladin. You know, eye for an eye situation. I think that's what Alamo's on right now. This was epic because you've seen how Bishop stood out, and we're glad to see how a lot of these characters are now developing into the show. Bishop came out saying, "I'm a cowboy." We think he's about to shoot the whole place up, and it was very significant the way we got a lot of his character into this, and I think he's now going to become loved a lot more now and admired, given the fact that we saw his character out there. So we'll get more of that. But at the same time, just as soon as they leave, Rue gets into trouble. You know, Feds catch her. And this is interesting because now we have to see, where does she go? Is she going to snitch? What happens? Because now she becomes a threat. A threat in the case of, look, she's been caught by the feds. If Alamo finds out, that's a problem. That's damage already. She went from wanted from, yeah, Alamo, yeah, Laurie's, to the point now where she ain't wanted no more. Because if they find out she with the feds, it's crazy right now, you know? So this is going to be a big situation. And this could put her in serious trouble. So you can see how this is another example. We had the Nate example in terms of him chasing money, and now we have the Rue example. The third example was very significant. First, which really kicks off the episode, is she's enjoying her artwork. She's doing her thing. She's loving the vibe of everything. So she's enjoying what she's doing with the art stuff, which we're happy to see. Further on, though, even though she's doing that, um, she gets herself into all these different aspects of life. She's out here moving with one man to another man to another, moving with different men, trying to monetize off them, really and truly. And a lot of them are willing to pay anything. We had one that's never been with a woman before that, that ends up paying a ridiculous amount just to touch a nylon. Like, that was crazy. We had her now in a situation that is with a married man, and ask ourselves, what happens if the family find out? Is that how she's going to get caught up? We don't know. So this is something that we really don't know where this goes. Then on top of that, Jules goes to this wedding where, of course, she catches people's interest. Even the way she dresses, you can see it's very unique. It's explicit, but it's unique. A lot of people are out there like, okay, who's she? Like, one of the, it was even funny enough saying that, you know, Nate's dad just looks at, oh no, because he knew he got himself in trouble with this. This is how he got on the register, and this kind of threw him off guard. Probably even helped him to get more drunk. But yeah, he got himself in this situation on top. So it's one of those ones now where, of course, Jules is just moving brazy. Jules is out here, just trying to see what's going on, you know. And at the same time, it's almost like Nate's kind of looking at her, kind of like reminiscing a bit, like, "Oh man, I remember Jules," kind of thing, sort of thing. And at the same time, while that's going on, Maddie, Maddie's looking at Nate, and Maddie's looking at Cassie, her best friend and her lover, thinking that this should have been me. I should have been. I should be where Cassie is. Why Cassie should be where I am. And you can see the pain that she kind of has. She's hurt right now. And even what did make it better was the fact that Nate's mom goes and says, "Well, he could have been with what's her name, and that would have been a bad clause." And she just makes it worse. There's nothing more worse than a mother son, scorning you and saying that, yeah, like it could have been this, it could have been that. So I think that really hurt Maddie a lot. That really struck with Maddie, and whole through the process, while Cassie going through her own thing, Maddie going through hers. So Maddie feeling the pain. And what she feels majority than anything is she feels empty. You can see the pain that Maddie's getting. Maddie feels absolutely empty from the situation. Like, why am I in this situation? Why is it tough for me? She feels she feels very salty. A lot of cholesterol in this. So you can see where Maddie is not happy at all and thinking to herself, why am I losing out? Why should I lose out from this? Why is everyone enjoying life and I'm losing out? This now being a case, you know, we have a lot of theories, a lot of pictures have been out of Maddie probably meeting up with Alamo, and it's going to be very significant because Maddie's already started to work a bit alongside Cassie, and Cassie's a bit sus because Cassie at first started to do the OF. Seems like she's gonna have to sell more than feet now because they're gonna need the money. She don't want to downsize too. And bro ain't even got all his toes at this point. He knows he don't want his life out, so they're gonna have to almost at this particular point, like they're gonna have to put her to the heat. They're gonna have to put Maddie to the heat with this whole. No, they're gonna have to put Cassie to the heat here, where I feel she's gonna be pressured to do stuff that she really didn't look to do. And I think the one person who's gonna push that forward and take advantage of that is Maddie. I think Maddie's gonna be the worst. We think Nas is the worst. I think Maddie might even do worse. I think Maddie is gonna be the antagonist here to the relationship of Cassie and Nate. I feel as though she's not happy with what she's seen, and it's almost like when you're jealous of something, you want to ruin it. And I feel as though that's something where Maddie probably will try do. I think she's gonna try and ruin the situation that they have, which is kind of sad. But I can definitely see that being the case. I see her really ruin that whole situation and trying to, you know, take out from that and not being happy. And I think Maddie really is relating to a lot of people who kind of felt as though they were done wrong in their past and they're kind of trying to put themselves into somebody else's. you know, Future. Almost in the case where it's like, they have to act like they're happy, but they're not really happy at all. Like we know Maddie wasn't happy. Maddie was definitely not happy being there. Maddie wasn't happy being in that situation. Maddie definitely wasn't happy with anything going on. So that was something that really hit Maddie in general. So, we have to stay tuned for all of that. All of this is going to be amazing to watch. Um, and we know it's going to kick off. Um, this really is going to be a big, big episode. The next one, we saw the wedding. The wedding was absolutely crazy, insane. Just when we thought we would have a peaceful wedding, we have absolute crazy, insane madness going on. So we were really entertained with this, and we definitely hope that the next episode is going to be crazy. So definitely, guys, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Express your entity.